We are here with the final mysteries, the cut, forgotten content series, whatever you want to call it. Today in this final episode, there are 13 things that didn't make it into Star Wars Battlefront 2, and I have to say some of these are the most interesting, and even I didn't know about all of them. Now there are some of these 13, some pretty weak ones, and I'm going to get into those straight away, not spend too much time on them, because some get really interesting, like I said, as I go along, so I'd rather cover those near the end and get all the boring ones done really quickly at the start. And for the final time in this series, a big thank you to Mophead. I'm using his footage for these video assets. I will leave a link to his channel in the description. Now if we get into our first point here, and for this first one, we've got 4 of the things in today's video. This involves instant action. The first one being cross-era heroes actually being available. So for example, as seen in the clip here, you could have Luke Skywalker on Geonosis or Rey on Naboo, for example. There are also options for friendly hero AI, point number 2, friendly vehicle AI, point number 3, and enemy vehicle AI, which is point number 4. Bearing in mind though, none of these have any functionality in the game's files right now. Now these 4 things could be great for instant action. I think they should put all 4 of them in the game once obviously all assets are done. I think it would really just add that bit more to instant action, which that game mode is doing great, but anything more you can add on is also pretty good. And as I said at the start, sticking with the lesser of these assets in today's video, we've got deleted Anakin responses, and I knew these had gone somewhere. I was so excited when I actually found out that I hadn't gone crazy. Now the Dooku lines, because these are Anakin lines directed at Dooku, the Dooku lines are still in the game but Anakin's aren't. Let's play both of them right now along with Dooku's, which as I said still remain in the game.
Young Master Skywalker, you are nothing if not relentless.
You forgot irresponsible and a great singer. But who's counting?
Ventress and Sauvage Opress failed me. Perhaps you could use a new master.
I could use a new wardrobe too, but that doesn't mean I want to go shopping with you.
Now in terms of these lines, yeah, I thought they were a bit out of place in the game, especially shopping, singing, Anakin and Dooku having a conversation. It's like the devs have never seen the Star Wars movies or Star Wars The Clone Wars if they think these are the type of conversations Anakin and Dooku share, and I think it was the right choice to remove these Anakin lines from the game. And it's pretty weird because Dooku's lines make total sense, they sound like things he would say, but the Anakin lines on the other hand just sound weird, and it's basically just the Anakin voice actor saying some random things that you'd never really hear him say in the Star Wars universe. And probably the weakest one on the list, but I'm not going to miss anything out because this is the final episode of the series, so I want to make sure I have everything covered. There are 32 different old portraits for Battlefront 2, as in the menu icons, so if you look on the far left you can see what things look like in the alpha for any assets that were available, then the game's beta, as you can see there, and then pre-day 1 patch, so before that first patch in Battlefront 2. I remember a few of these icons. I think some of them look alright. I especially like Bosks and Vaders, but I obviously do prefer the new ones. Now the next one, this is where things finally get interesting, a stats screen, and bearing in mind this has been in the game's files since day 1. And I really like this stats screen, to be honest. It's unfortunate because I never think this is coming to Star Wars Battlefront 2. There would just be no point now. There have been rumours that they are keeping up to date and tracking our stats, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem likely that this is ever going to come to the game, but look at that. You've got the rank, you've got the total kills, the games, the time played, the KD ratio, the win ratio, the score, things you'd expect. I love the card rarity graph as well. I think that's really cool, and at this point I want to know, if they ever added this, how big my epic circle would be on there. You've also got, which I don't believe this was in Battlefront 1, but your favourite weapon and how long you've used it, your most played hero. I'm guessing that's not complete because it says Leia but it's got a picture of Rey, so obviously things aren't finished here. Most played class and most played starfighter as well. Honestly, if I could see any of the things off this list in the game, it would be the stats screen. So next up we've got the general trivia, as Mophead is calling it, and there's 5 things on this list, but one of them being the Ewok bow has since been added to the game, so just 4 here. The first one being the Shadow Trooper body and textures, except for the helmet using the Battlefront 2015 texture formats, are used in a cut or test Fondor campaign level. So there are assets for the Shadow Trooper in the files. I definitely think with more original trilogy themed updates on the way that we're going to see these guys as a skin or a reinforcement, as I predicted in my Scarif video, in the game. Yes, let's not get confused, these are textures from the last game, but at the same time I think they could incorporate those and upgrade them to use in Battlefront 2. The next one, and these are very, you know when I was saying interesting at the start? Yes, this is where things get interesting because I never expected stuff like this. A text line suggests that the clones on Feed were at some point going to use the Gungan boomer bombs, which if you remember those from Battlefront 1, on the MTTs rather than the ion disruptors. Pick up the boomer and use the boomer on the MTT. They are actually lines from the files. And imagine that, my friends, imagine using the boomer bombs. Imagine using these as a star card. Gungan reinforcements, I doubt we're ever going to see it. I doubt after we've got these final 2 Imperial / Rebellion reinforcements we're going to see any sort of reinforcements again in the game, but imagine seeing the Gungans, that would have been so cool. Things only get a bit more interesting though here. A text line exists for a Jar Jar crate in the game's files. And thankfully we aren't just left guessing with this one, we actually got an update from one of the community managers who stated that the Jar Jar announcer for all modes was considered for a 2019 April Fool's event but did not end up happening due to time constrictions. Now that sounds so fun. I actually don't mind Jar Jar. I don't think he's on par with a lot of these really awful Star Wars characters people talk about. But hearing Jar Jar or a Gungan just be an announcer, I don't know if in all eras that would have worked, but definitely in the prequel era I would have liked it, on Naboo especially. So we've got the Shadow Trooper, we've got the Boomer potentially being in the game, we've got the Jar Jar crate, we've got the Jar Jar announcer, and if you wanted to add on a very small one here, which I don't feel like counting, but we'll put it in here anyway, subtitles were used at one point for the announcer voice lines on Feed, and that probably would have been the same on all the maps. So when the announcer's talking to you, there would have been the option for subtitles, which I think is kind of cool. Now up next, I'm calling this one a Greedo tease. And basically in 2018, DICE released several short demo videos for the making of Star Wars Battlefront 2 to the Battlefront 2017 physics ragdoll system and particle simulations for one of their new maps. So they basically showed a lot behind the scenes stuff on how the game works. And one of these videos included Greedo from Battlefront 2015. Now Greedo wasn't included in Battlefront 2017 and hence these videos have been removed. The only footage left is what fans managed to capture. But look, I'm going to put this out here. I think Greedo was coming to Star Wars Battlefront 2017. We could still see him to this day, who knows. I doubt it, but I definitely think Greedo was coming, and hear me out. Now don't get me wrong, I have no proof of this and I could be completely incorrect. However, when you look at the system for Battlefront 2, there is a certain hero situation that was probably changed. Now if you look at the Battlefront 2015 heroes for a second, it was Ninem and Greedo, and then it was Dengar and Lando who is in the game, then it was Chewie and Bosk, both of which are in the game, and then Jyn and Krennic, who obviously aren't. So Chewie and Bosk came together, and Lando would have most likely have been partnered with Greedo, so you can always put a hero and a villain together in Battlefront 2. That probably would have been Lando and Greedo, because people knew how much they loved Greedo in Star Wars Battlefront 2015. I believe that was 100% the case, but then obviously they made the decision for whatever it was, for time reasons, or maybe they felt it was more fitting, but they added Iden instead, which I can fully defend. She's the protagonist of the campaign, whether you like it or not. It does make sense that that protagonist is in the game, so I do think Greedo was eventually cut for that reason. Look at all the OT heroes in this game apart from Iden, they're all from the last game. Bosk seems like a bizarre decision to the average player, but if you played 2015's Battlefront, you'd know why. Fun fact here is that Greedo was using dual-wielding pistols, which I doubt he would have used if he had arrived to the game. I definitely think that was just a test, but a test that ended up coming true in the form of ARC troopers and ISB agents. And there's a lot of different test videos, but another one here is Battle Droid Dismemberment, and as you can see, when the clone kills these battle droids in this test video, their heads are flying everywhere, their body parts are flying everywhere, And this may have been the closest we could have got to dismemberment. Maybe it was cut due to time reasons, maybe once again it was cut because it was too violent, which is definitely how it is with stormtroopers, clone troopers, rebel soldiers, everything like that. Dismemberment is cut from Battlefront because it is a bit too violent, which I completely disagree with. If you're playing Battlefront, you know the consequences of war in Star Wars, but what can you do? On droids, maybe for some time it was considered okay, but it was eventually changed. And that is everything. 13 things. I've now covered every bit of cut content we know about. There could always be secret things that we don't know about, but everything now that has been, I say officially cut, people have found in the game's files, there is at least evidence out there for, has now been covered. I've added all these videos to a playlist if you want to go and watch them all back. So the people saying you've covered these things before here and there, I've now put them into their own videos and I'm never going to have to cover them ever again. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I do hope you enjoyed this video and I shall see you all next time.